Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rudy van der Walt, the Director of Sales and Marketing here at K2. And with me today, we've got Igor Juricevic, our technical specialist. And we're going to take the time to focus a little bit on business solutions, how we go from zero to business solutions in literally number of minutes. We're going to see if Igor is really as good as he tried to be and if our technology can keep up with him. So if we talk about K2, what is K2 in a nutshell? If we look at it, technology consists of 4 elements. The first is forms, so strong electronic forms. View, also the automation side, workflow. When it comes to data, integrated data integration into line of business systems is very important when you look at business solutions, as well as reporting. From each of those elements, looking at electronic forms, we need to create forms with integrated data. There we can see SharePoint, CRM, and whatever line of business systems is in your organization. And if possible, create reusable elements or views that can be recreated, reused on different forms. And as soon as we get that done, the next question will probably be, but what about mobile? Will this work on mobile devices? From a workflow perspective, this is where K2 found our ground roots. So we've got a very, very strong workflow and automation capability with multiple designers. So for different roles within the organization can contribute in different environments, and designers where they are capable and confident in and leverage existing technologies and tools like Word, Exchange, and CRM that they're familiar with within their solutions and their process, and that also helps to span these things across the enterprise. From a data perspective, I think this is probably the key differentiator for us as an organization in the technology. Without data, your forms and workflow is basically just a form, and the workflow is pretty meaningless. What you need is you need to surface the data so that the people in the process are actually empowered and informed to make the right decision, and in the form, make sure that you can leverage the data and empower the user to do what he needs to do, and not just have to type in and capture data over and over every time. So how we do that is through a layer that we call smart objects. For the business people on the webinar, think about a business entity layer, that if I think about a customer, I have that, or I think about HR, I think about an employee, I create that entity and I can reuse that on my forms and my workflow without having to know where that data comes from or the technical knowledge to understand how to integrate into that specific line of business system. I do with that data on the form of the workflow that I as a business user need to do. From a reporting perspective, there's again a very strong capability from K2 to not only just bring you workflow and process data to report on, but also through our business entity layer or through the smart objects, we can surface line of business system data and workflow data in the same report. And as Igor liked to say, what is the most powerful reporting tool out there? It's probably Excel. Everybody knows how to build something, a pivot table, create a chart in Excel. We can surface that line of business system data in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can slice and dice and build reports to your heart's content. Now, the very important aspect is mobile. Yes, there is a K2 a mobile application. Go to the Apple App Store, Android, go and download the app and leverage it. And yes, there is a offline capability as well. So if we need to go and capture information and then get back online and have a process kick off, you can most definitely do that as well. So with that being said, I think it's time that we give Igor an opportunity to see how we can actually go about creating some of these applications and ultimately see if it's possible to maybe take some of what he's building this afternoon, surface that in a way that you could potentially participate on a mobile device and then take it from there. So with that said, thank you very much. Igor, over to you. Thanks, Rudy.
All right, so I'm going to go out of the PowerPoint, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with just showing you an example of a business application built that's created with K2, and then I'm going to go and actually create something on the fly, or actually extend a little example that I put together this morning for this webinar. Something a little bit fun around, something a little bit around the Melbourne Cup. We can see if you guys can participate in that and see how it goes. So first of all, we already spoke about business applications. So this is an example of, I'm going to show you a couple of examples here of the type of business applications that you can build with K2 and create such an enhanced experience that you actually bring your users to start to take advantage of them. I've been in many organizations that have said to me, you know, we've gone electronic and it didn't really work. You know, they've said to me they took their paper forms and they made electronic versions of those forms, yet the users and the take-up on that wasn't very big. People didn't really pick up those forms and want to start to, you know, use electronic versions of that. And when I asked them, well, you know, what did it look like? How did you make it? They said, no, we made it exactly the same as the paper form. You know, we wanted to make it very seamless for the user. So it was an identical match. Well, in one case, that's great, you know what I mean, that it's familiar. But in the other case, it didn't actually add any further value. And as such, people would rather than fill out the paper version because, you know, it's nice and easy. You just grab your pen, start filling it out, and come back tomorrow and fill some more out tomorrow, and then post it off rather than going to the electronic version. And what you discover is that you actually got to entice people to come to use the electronic version. You've got to bring something to them that they're going to enjoy using. It's going to add them value in those types of applications. So this is an example that I'll show you here. What I'm showing here, this web page that you're looking at over here, let me make that full screen. Oops, wrong button. There we go. So this is actually the K2 immersion experience. This is a demonstration environment built completely on K2 smart forms as a example of the kind of application that you can build using K2. So not only can you build a form with K2 and put a process behind it, of course, you can build an entire application. So this is almost like an example of an application of K2. Most of the time, or probably about 50% of the time, people will build applications and expose inside of other technologies like SharePoint. In today's webinar, I'm going to keep completely out of it, just show you pure K2 all on its own. And this is K2 in its vanilla, sort of on its own environment, rather than connected to any other system. One of the demonstrations I thought I'd show you is around a travel request. So what you're looking at here, this is actually a K2 smart form. Our forms are made up of different views. So here I've got this little header view, and then I've got a little view that shows me my list of applications, and here's my task list. So if I've got anything to approve, it's going to appear in my task list. And I've got another little view over here that shows me a list of my different applications and what status they currently are in. And later in this webinar, I'll actually go and create some of these for you on the fly around the application that we're going to build. So if I go into an example application like travel request, this is a nice example to show you how connecting a form to different line of business systems can actually help empower your users in completing those forms. So the first thing that we have on this travel request is the ability to load up a saved draft. So you want to be able to, complete a form, have the form automatically fill in your details. So you can see it's loaded up my details out of my backend system, my Active Directory, and I don't have to go and fill those details in. That to me is an immediate draw for me not to use a paper form, because I get to save on typing out my own personal details once again in another form. This form's already got it in. And then as I go to fill out this form, there's certain information that's coming in. So one of the things that we have here is that when I fill out this travel request, I've got to select a cost center. So when I go to this little drop down, that is now a list of cost centers that are coming out of a backend system. So I don't have to go and look them up or know what they are. And as soon as the backend system is updated, these cost centers on this travel request form are updated immediately as well. They're just pulled in. And in this particular example, this list of cost centers are actually coming in from an Office 365 list. So that's an example of integrating into Office 365. Bringing a list of cost centers. It could be a list of cost centers coming in from your SAP system or your finance system. So in this particular example, I'm going to choose a cost center. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and try and find a company that I'm going to go and visit, the reason for my travel. So inside here, when I go and I type in the word MIC, it's done a search and it's found in my backend system, I've got a company called Microsoft. That's their account code, and that's a company that I'd like to go and visit. Okay, so what would normally happen is that I would now need to go and contact perhaps one of the sales guys, ask them about this account that I should go and visit. I'd have to probably find out, you know, where are they, what's their address. Someone's going to go and log into the CRM system and look up the address and then email me back what the address is, and then I'm going to have to email them again and ask them, well, who is the contact, who's the person that I should go and see at this particular account. So we don't want to do all that sort of back and forth thing. We want to, you know, enable you directly on this form. So as I typed in the word Microsoft, this little icon appeared over here. And when I go in and I click on that, what that's now doing is that's now opening up those details about Microsoft in this example that are now coming in from our back-end CRM system. So this could be coming from Salesforce.com, could be coming from Dynamics CRM on-premise, or even online, or even other third-party CRM systems. So again, I'm now looking at this data coming out of the CRM system. I'm even able to look at the information that is inside here and actually go and update it as well. So if I do a little update, provided that I've got permissions to do so, I've actually now just corrected that phone number in that back-end CRM system. While I'm looking at this, there's a little contacts button at the top. I click on contacts. What that's now doing is it's loading up the list of contacts out of that back-end CRM system. So I can see it's Joanne, Nancy, and Peter, and the director that I need to go and visit is Peter. So effectively, you know, I've got all the information I need around, you know, completing this travel request, as well as, you know, who I'm going to go and see, where I need to fly to, the sort of location details, and all that information is available for me directly on the form here. Right, so I'm going to continue filling this out. I've got a little section over here, just who are going to be the approvers. In my example, I'm just going to be everybody. I'm going to be the approvers of all the different stages. What we can also do on our forms is also only show information that's relevant. So you don't have to have a huge form that I have to fill in, you know, 50-page document. Rather, I've got a single page, and only when I decide, do I need flights, do I now include a little flight section. So you can hide and show different sections based upon what people select. So if you think about maybe a big application form that you need somebody to complete, rather than having things on it that say, if you said yes to section 2, then go to section 5, you don't have to do that sort of thing. You can just ask them questions, and as I say yes or no, then you bring up the sections that are relevant for them to complete. So in this particular case, I've decided that I need some flights. So I'm going to go and add some flights. Now when I go to my little flights system, I can go and say, well, I need to fly from Sydney. I need to go down to Brisbane. I need to fly down on Monday. And what I'm going to do here is, again, pull in some data to help me book this travel and help me to get also a bit of an accurate cost estimate. Now, normally I would now leave this web page and go and hit Google and start Googling around for flight information and, you know, EasyJet, you know, Jetstar or Qantas, and start having a look at that information. In this particular example, I can actually click on this little button to get live flights. And I can see a list of actual flights that are going to be traveling from Sydney to Brisbane on Monday, and I can go and search and I can select the flight that I want to go on. So as I look down, I can see here's a good flight, a Qantas flight for $97. That's a flight that I think I'm going to take on the 9th. It's a nice early flight as well. So I'm going to choose that flight. And that's now been added to my travel request. Now the key here is that I've chosen the flight, it's added some value into it, it's integrated with some flight management system, which is great, but it's also saving me needing to go and do all those searching and then submitting my travel request, and then when it gets to the travel office, they normally also go and end up needing to go and look again for flights. So this is a way of sort of bringing down the kind of time and effort of the people that are involved in the process, as well as getting a slightly better price estimate. As I fill out this form, I also need to do a return trip. So I'm just going to say I need a return trip. I'm going to say, well, I need to, if I'm flying on the 9th, I need to be returned on the Friday. And again, I just say bring me live flights. And then what it's doing is it's just doing a reverse lookup. So it's going to just do the opposite from Brisbane back to Sydney this time around. I can see the dates. That's for the Friday ones. And I can see there's a few flights here. I don't see a Qantas one, but I might just take that Virgin one over there. So I'll add that one into my return trip as well. So I've added the 2 trips. It's calculating a total for me, and I'm going and I'm saving that and adding that into my flight travel booking that takes place. I can see I've actually got a little bug that's added them in twice. So let me just remove the Sydney to Brisbane. and the Brisbane to Sydney one over there. Here we go. So I've got my flight sitting inside here. I can also decide if I want accommodation, a little accommodation section, or additional car hire, but let's keep that nice and simple for today. So what you've had a look at so far is quite a rich form with lots of data integration taking place. We've got information coming from Office 365, from a backend CRM system, my details being pre-populated using data from Active Directory, some flight information coming from a cloud-based flight management system that I'm able to go and get the accurate costs. And then I can go and submit that off. So what's happened here is it's showing a little bit of data validation. It's letting me know that I can't submit this until I've filled in all the required fields. As I go to the top, I can see there's a little section here that I need to put in my reason for travel. So I'm going to go and just put in a reason. I'm just going to go and talk to them about an upgrade. Right, so I submit that off. Now, what we're doing here is we're actually now taking a PDF snapshot of this form and submitting this travel off. The reason why we do this little PDF of the form is that there's a number of things. Of course, one thing could be that we need to store a record of what was the data and the information that was submitted off, and maybe go and store that into a back-end EDRM system like HP Trim as an example. But what also is quite useful is also sending that information back to the person that actually requested the travel. So if I just go back into my email over here, so let's go to my workflows over here, and we should see a couple of emails come in the next couple of seconds. So there we go. So the first email that I've just received is a little confirmation. So it was me that booked my travel. So it's saying, good day, Igor. This is just confirmation that you booked your travel. And here is a PDF of the form that was filled in. So there's that form with all the information that was filled in a little bit earlier, and that's now for my record, and I have that as a kind of a record of that information that was filled in. If I minimize this, what you'll notice is on my task list, I've also got an executive approval that is now taking place. And the reason why I now have this approval is because of the workflow process that's taken place. So what we can do is we can go and have a look at that. I can see my active process over here, my travel request. It's in executive approval. I can have a look at the workflow process that's running behind the scenes there. So I can see it started off, and then one of the business rules was that if there are any travel included in the booking, it needs to go to executive approval. So you can see it's gone down to executive approval, and that particular step has been allocated to Igor as I've set it up in the demo for me to actually go and approve. So this is just showing you again that the workflow process has been started behind the form, and we now have a managed business process that's now taking place. So how do we aid the approver with making decisions as well? So as I'm the executive manager to approve this, I'm going to go and open up that particular task. So my form opens up. I can see the details of travel, the information that was filled in at the beginning of our process, the flight information, the total costs that have been added up, and I can make a decision whether I'm going to approve or decline this. But what we're going to do is we're going to go and show you a few other little bits that can take place. One of the things is I can go and have a look at some travel reports. So what this is doing is just showing you examples where I've used some third-party reporting tools to bring up some reports on travel. So me as the executive manager, if I make approvals, I can see maybe a bit of a trend line of flights and where we're flying to, costs by those different cost centers, maybe even by the people that have submitted travel and where they're actually traveling to. One of the other things I've done is added another tab where I can see all previous travel for that particular employee, and then I can go and select on any particular of his previous travel items and load up the details of that previous travel. So for example, I can see there was a health trip over here or a conference, and I can see there also flew to Sydney. At that time it was $100. So I have that information again to help me make those kind of decisions. All right, and then I can go forward and then decide to approve this particular piece of travel, and therefore let the process move on to onto the next step. And now it's gone to the travel office. So I don't want to take too much more time of showing you an example of a process. Hopefully that just gives you a bit of an example of a process that talks to the things that Rudy spoke about, bringing in rich data integration from line of business systems into that initial submit form, then bringing in process to go and manage it, having a nice workflow process, escalation rules coming in, and then also giving the people within the workflow more empowerment to make better decisions. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is just show you a little bit of the building tools and a little bit of a change. And I've created something, hopefully to be a little bit more fun today. I've created something around the Melbourne Cup. So what we're going to do is use some of the K2 tooling to have a look at the sort of things that we can do. So how K2 works, and I'm going to be quite brief on this. If you want more information, a little bit more details, obviously get in contact with us afterwards. But effectively, we build something called a K2 Smart Object, where we define the data that we need, that we're busy talking to. So that'll be, you know, if it's a leave request, it'll be the start date and the end date of the leave and the person who's going on leave. If it's, you know, those smart objects effectively are your data, and we can connect those also to different backend systems. We then build a view around our data, the way we want it to look and be presented, and then we can put our view onto a form. And the idea here is that we build a view once, and we can use it on many different forms. So it becomes very reusable. So let's have a look at what we've created so far. So inside of this environment, I've created a little folder here called Melbourne Cup. And what I've done is I've created a little smart object here called the Melbourne Cup Bet. All right. So if I edit that, this particular little smart object has got a couple of details in it. I need to capture a person's full name, their mobile number, what horse are they going to be betting on, and then we're going to bring through the odds. I'm going to collect the bet and then maybe a little status of what that bet's currently looking like. So just a little app that we're going to create. And this kind of app you can think of as a disposable app. So inside of K2, you know, some applications are so quick and easy to build that you don't have to think of them as, you know, a massive investment to create some of these applications. They can be very quick to create, and you can almost think of some of them as disposable applications, where you might need a little quick app for a very specific circumstance. You can use K2 to build that app, use that app in that instance, and then get rid of it afterwards if it's not needed anymore. It's not, you know, days and weeks of effort to create some of those small little applications. So this is an example of one. So full name, mobile, horse. What I'm going to do in this one is I'm actually going to add another field here called comment. So when you add your bet, you can also add a little comment. And let's make that a little memo field. So we're going to add that particular one inside here, and I'm just going to hit finish. So effectively, that is a smart object that we've just that we've got and that we've created. The next thing I want to do is take advantage of some other data. Now, inside of this environment, I actually have got a backend SQL database. I'm just going to connect to this database. And inside of this database, I have got a little table here called, where is it? Melbourne Cup odds. Here we go. There we go. So this is just inside data that is sitting inside of a database. And what it has is a horse, who the jockey is, the person's weight, and what the current odds are. So this is information I got obviously from the Melbourne Cup yesterday, and I've loaded it up into this database. So I've got a few horses inside here, and you're going to be able to bet on some of these information a little bit later. Now using K2, I'm able to turn this SQL Server database, or that CRM system, or that SAP data, into something called a K2 Smart Object. And what I have is I've done that over here. So under my odds list, here is my Melbourne Cup odds, and effectively that is now a smart object built against that database. And if I go to this Melbourne Cup odds list and I click on the little link over here, this is going to show you a little view of that information that's sitting inside of that database. So here it is. This is a nice little list using K2 to build, where I can see a list of all the people, all the horses that are racing. If you remember, it was Payne that won it. So if I do a little search, there it is. I'm searching and I'm finding that information. So very quickly you can create views into your backend data, into your SQL data, and be able to use that and create visual representations of that. Now we're going to use this little view in a couple of minutes. All right, so let's go back to our little Melbourne Cup bet. So we now have a smart object. What we want to do is create a view around that smart object. So I'm going to design a new view. This is going to be called my Melbourne Cup bet view. Right, so I now have all those fields, including the comment field that we added a few minutes ago, and now I need to create a form out of this. So just in light of time, I'm just going to automatically generate that for myself. Just say I want all the fields, not the ID field. I want a little save button and go. So it builds that little view out for me. Then I can come inside here and start making some modifications to it. So I'm going to collect your full name, your mobile number. We're going to have a little place here where we're going to put in the horse. We're going to have the odds over here. I'll make that odd a read-only field. You're going to place your bet, and for the status, well, let me get rid of the status. Perhaps you don't need it on this particular view. All right. So that's just the basic sort of concept that we're taking place over here. All right. Now, what I'm also going to do is for the horse, I'm going to make that read-only. And what we're going to do is bring in that view that I had a little bit earlier, that you can select a horse from that list, and then it'll go and put that into your bet for you. So there's a few ways that I can do that. I can use two views together. I can make a view pop up in another window. There are a couple of options that I have available to me. In this particular case, I think I'm just going to bring up the list and let you select a horse. All right. Okay. What we also want to do is on the save button. So when this particular bet is saved, I wanted to do a couple of things. So I want some validation to take place. So first of all, I want to go to my mobile. And on the mobile, I'm going to go and add some pattern matching. So I'm going to go to the pattern over here. And over here, I want to collect Australian mobile numbers in that particular format. So I'll do that. So what this does is this now restricts the mobile to collect information in that format. So it's all about making sure that you collect the right kind of data and putting these sort of data validation things that might take place. When the save button is clicked, let's go and have a look at the rule there. So it's already got a rule to save the data, but we're going to go and extend it and add some validation. So I'm going to say, first of all, this form needs to pass validation. What validation? Well, I need to get the first name, the mobile number, the horse, the odd, the bet, and a comment. Well, to make that compulsory, I think for this example, we'll make that compulsory. So we say, as long as I've got all the information, we then can save that data, and then what I want to do is then start a workflow process. So let's go over here and find the starter workflow. So we're going to go and start my Melbourne Cup workflow process over here. So let's start the bet approval process. Let's go and configure it. So my workflow process takes in an ID. So let's go and get the bet's ID and put that inside there. And for the folio, that's how we recognize it from a human point of view. I'm going to put in the person's name dash the horse inside there. So I can go and approve that. And I'll even put maybe the bet amount inside there as well. All right, so that's going to, so first we're going to save the data, start the workflow process, and then perhaps what I might do then is show a message. Let's do a message. So let's show a message. I'll just say simply thank you for your bet. I'll say you can now do another, something like that. Let's make that medium and with a little information, little message that's going to come up. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is tell this view to clear its information so that it's now a fresh one to be submitted again. Okay? So we'll allow you to submit a few different bets. Right, so fill in this information and then hit the save button. So let's finish that. Now let's build a form that this is going to live on. So let's create a new little form. So this is our Melbourne Cup bet form. So here's a little form. We then bring our view that we built onto our little form, so it appears over here. So I'm going to call this one maybe place your bet, like that. And what I'm also going to do is bring in the list of horses so that you can choose a horse. So let's bring in that list. Drop it up at the top here. So select a horse, like that. And then what I also want to do is add a little header to this so it looks a little bit nice. So I'm going to bring in some views that I've got previously. So I'm going to bring in a little reusable view. One. That's the one I want. Let's bring in that little view. All right. Let's make that non-collapsible. And then on this view, we'll just leave it as it is now. We can come back and make some changes to that. I also don't want this form to be too big. So one of the things I can do on this form is give it some restrictions. Let's maybe make it have a maximum width of maybe 800 pixels. All right. So let's have a look at the basics of what we've created. So if I check that in, we have a look at our basic little form. What we can see is we now have a form where we've got a list of horses. We want somebody to select a horse, then fill in the details at the bottom and submit that off as a new bet. All right. So there's one little rule I need to do, and this is to introduce you into some rules, is that when I select one of these, I want it to automatically fill in the horse and the odds over here based upon the horse that you have selected. So let's go and add that little rule into it. Right. So I go to the top view, the select a horse view, and I'm going to add a rule that says when the odds list, so the horses list, has been list item clicked. So when you select an item, then what I'm going to do is transfer some information from one to the other. So I'm going to go and say transfer information from my odds list. Let's go and get from the one that's selected and go to the controls, so the bet view, and pass the horse into the horse text box, pass the odds into the odds text box, like that. All right. Let's save that again, and let's have a look at our little form. So I'll give that a refresh. So now when I go and I select a horse, you can see it filling in that information at the bottom over here. Okay. All right. And when if I click on save, you can see there it's asking me for certain information, and that's that little rule coming into play. Okay. So that's great. So the other thing that I'm going to do as well is I want you guys to be able to interact with this form. So I'm going to make this form, let's go and do some settings on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is in my advanced settings, I'm going to go and switch on something called anonymous access. So that's going to allow you to access this form without authenticating. So in other words, I need the general public to be able to access this without having a username and password. So that's the one thing we're going to do. And I'm going to check this in, and I'm going to give you access to this particular form. Okay. Right, so let me go and do that actually. Let's see how that loads up. So for those of you that are on the call, I'm going to go into the little chat window, and I'm going to drop a link to this form in the chat window. Okay. So if you don't mind, I should probably do one myself as well. See if you can open up that particular form. And I just want to make sure, first of all, that the data in the database is cleaned out for my little test earlier. Let's see if we've got the Melbourne Cup bet over here. So just going to clear out the data that's in there now. Okay. So if you're able to open up that form, choose a particular horse, and then go and submit a bet off. What's going to happen is that by doing so, it's going to go and start this business process. So what this workflow process is going to do is it's going to start off, it's going to go down to approval, where I'm going to need to approve your particular bet. So if you have a bet, whatever particular amount in that, I first need to approve it. If that bet is approved, what I then do is go to down the approved path. We then wait for the race, and then based upon the results of the race, whenever I put in the results of the race, this waits for the race, keeps checking to see if the race has taken place, and if it has taken place, if your horse is a winning horse or not, you'll either have won or better luck next time. And based upon that, you'll also receive a text message. So from inside of the workflow process, you can then model out the kind of business rules that need to take place once that form has been submitted off, and be able to go and have a look at the information that's filled in there. All right. So let me go and complete one of those and show you an example of it. So I'm going to do one. I'm going to do the fair game one over here. So I'll put in my name, Igor Juricevic. So put in your mobile number so you can get your text whether you're going to get your bet or not. I'm going to put in a bet here of $600 and submit that off. So there we go. My bet has run through. My little form has been cleared, and now I can go and choose another horse and place another bet. And probably would have been better if I didn't clear out your name on your mobile so that you can just do it. You don't have to enter that details again. Would probably be a slightly better way of completing that. Now, what I'd also like to do is let's go back to my immersion environment over here. And what you'll see is that in my task list, you can see I've got quite a lot of tasks coming inside here. So thanks, guys, for participating in the demo. These are your bets that are coming in. So if you remember, that process now is effectively gone through. It's started off, and now I need to do all these approvals. So I can see here there's a pretty big one by Emma for, what's that, $500,000. I might decline that one. No, just joking. I'm going to approve that one. There's a bet here for $35. I'm happy with that. So what I'm busy doing now is just approving a couple of these bets. All right. So I can see quite a few big ones coming inside here, but there's also some small ones. You know, $20 one over here. So some of these are actually, you know, becoming a bit tedious for me to go in and approve, especially the small ones. All right. So thanks, guys, for putting those through. We're going to now make a small change to our business rule. What I want to do is I don't want to approve all of those small bets. I'd like you guys to place some more bets. Just now, don't do it yet. Just hold on a few seconds, and maybe some smaller bets to come in. And I don't want to have to approve them. The small bets are okay. It's only the big bets that we really need to worry about whether we want to approve them. Okay. So let's go to our business process now. All right. So here's back to our workflow process. We're going to go and add some new logic in here. I don't want to always go down to the approval step. What I'm going to do is add a new rule. So I'm going to add a little line here. Go into its properties. We're going to go in this particular rule over here. We're going to go and put a line rule inside here. And what my rule is going to be is go to the bet. You can see I've got all of now from our process. I've got all the data, including the comment we added earlier. And I'm going to go and say if the bet, all right, if the bet is greater than or equal to, and I guess this value we could also put in an external smart object, but in this case, I'm going to say if that bet is greater than or equal to $5,000, all right, then I need it to go down to approval. So I'm going to just put a little rule here. I'm going to just say it's greater than 5,000. This is my little note inside here. But I'm going to copy this rule now, copy it. I'm going to go back and paste it again. And this one, I'm going to move straight down to the approve section, like that. And I'm just going to say smaller than 5,000 as my rule, as just my little label, and put a rule behind that. And in this case, I'm going to say if it is less than 5,000. So if it is greater than 5,000, it needs to be approved. But any bets that are less than 5,000 are automatically approved. All right, so it's just an example of a change in that business logic. So I'm going to deploy my process. Hopefully I've got all my business logic right there. It's always intimidating doing it on the fly with an audience. So let's deploy this process. Okay, so if I can ask you guys to submit a couple more bets. And this time, maybe do maybe two more. One bet a little bit more than 5,000, and maybe a bet less than 5,000. And put your proper mobile number in it so that you get that response back. It'll let you know if your bet's approved or not. So I'm going to do one as well. While you do it, remember the form is in the message window. You could also try and open up that form on a mobile device as well, and you'll see how that'll open up. Okay, so there we've got one bet coming over here at 5,020, and I'm hoping, Kristen, that you send one also for a slightly smaller amount. But now, what I'd also like to do is I want to see all the bets that are coming in, right? So I'd like a visualization so that I can have a look at all those different bets. So let me approve that one for you. So let me go back to my little view over here. So let's go back to our bets. And now, very quickly, I just want a list of all the bets that are taking place. So let me go and generate a view. So this time I'm going to do it a lot quicker using an automatically generate capability. I want to see a list of all the bets, and I want them to be built onto a form. And I'll call that the Melbourne Cup Bets list form. All right. So let's have a look at that. So this time around, K2 is automatically generating the list and the form for me. All right. So there it is. So let me go and have a look what's happened inside here. So as I open that up, there's all the bets that have come in so far. So I can see quite a lot of bets come in. If I look towards the end there, I can see some bigger ones, some smaller ones. I'm hoping quite a few of those have automatically been approved, and you guys are doing the test for me. So I'll do a little test of my own here as well. So I'm going to use Payne. All right, so Igor Jurisevic. So I'm going to bet a very small bet of $40. Call this just a small one, and submit that off. So doing so, and now I'm just going to listen up for my phone, and then immediately on my phone, I've just received back that text message, immediately letting me know that that bet is approved. So that's hopefully you're getting those sort of concepts of, you know, we started off with a business process, we decided we needed an approval, we had that running in production. And then very quickly did we realize that, you know, we've actually learned from this business process quite quickly. It was very rapid for us to get this into production. We learned from it that we now need to actually, you know, maybe auto-approve some of the steps, and effectively made a change to that business process, redeployed, and are able to then implement that quite quickly. Yeah, and then this is, again, like a disposable app that we could then get rid of. All right. So you guys, let's go and see a little bit of a winner. So we've got those bets in. Let me make sure there's any more to approve here. So let's approve a couple more of these bets that have come in. Here we go. And approved. Okay. So obviously I'm going to be pretty biased now on who I'm going to choose as the winning horse. I can see quite a few of you. I'm going to choose the Prince of Penzance as the winning horse. So I've created just a small little example, little form here. Remember where I put it. Over here, race results. So on this little form, what I need to do inside here is put in the name of a winning horse. So I'm just going to go and fix up the little form, so my little results form. I've got a little item view over here. I'm going to go and choose a winning horse. But when I built this, I just auto-generated, and I'm not to type the name of the horse inside here. But I don't want to do that because I'm probably going to make a spelling mistake. So I'm going to go and change that into a little picker control. All right. I'm going to connect this control now to my list of odds, which are coming from that SQL Server database. So bring in the odds. Do a search based upon the horse and maybe the jockey, and let me save that. All right. So now if I refresh this page, now I can go and choose a winning horse. So in this particular case, let's go and choose a horse. There we go, Prince of Penzance. Right. So now before I hit save, I just want to show you an example of one of the workflow processes. So as I go down to the bottom here, having a look at all the workflows, these are all the bets that are currently in that have a workflow process associated with it. So I'm going to go to my one here, the Igor Prince of Penzance one, and have a look at the workflow process. So you can see the workflow process is running. In my particular one, it was auto-approved. It's now waiting for the race and waiting for those results. So let's go and put in those results. So let's maybe put that onto this side of my screen. Let's put that onto that side of my screen. Oh, it's not working. Hold on a second. Okay, let's do that. I've got two screens here, so it's catching me out a little bit. There we go. Right, so we're waiting for the race. I'm going to save that. Now my little loop that I've got taking place over here, it looks as soon as there's any entry of a horse into the table over there, and then it'll let you know what's happening. So if you've got a few bets in, you should be receiving some of those results taking place. So I've just received some results on my phone, letting me know that so my Prince of Penzance horse has won. I've also had another bet that I had in a little bit earlier for my fame game, which didn't win, and I'm hoping you guys are also receiving your notifications, whether you've been deposited some nice money into your bank account or not. That's not real. Don't take that seriously. But hopefully, it's just giving you a sense of an example of a disposable application with a little process that's running behind the scenes. The quick and easiness of us being able to build that application, make changes to the form, and go back to our workflow and make changes to that as well, and affect our business process quite quickly. All right, so just got a few more minutes left. Hopefully that's, again, giving you that insight. What I'd also like to invite you to do is, with inside of, if you'd like to get your hands on some of the examples that I've done today. So the K2 Immersion Experience is an environment where you can actually log into it yourselves and be able to go in and sign up for this environment and then enroll other people from your company in it. You can do that with the different apps inside here. So there's enroll others. So you're more than welcome to sign up for this, enroll a couple of your colleagues into this environment, and then go and kick off leave requests or cover requests or business case approvals or whatever it is, and send them to your different colleagues to get a bit of an experience with K2. I'll also take in some questions. If you want to put some questions into the question and answer panel, we'll then be able to go through those questions. I'm going to open that up. I can see there's a couple inside there as well. So while I answer the questions, I'm also going to just bring up the link, and I'll copy that into the window as well. This link is a link to do the enrollment into the K2 Immersion Experience. So I'll just paste it inside here. So it looks like that, and I'll put that into the chat window as well. All right. So if you run through this wizard, you can fill in your details, and then you'll be onboarded into the K2 Immersion Experience, where you can then enjoy those different demos and have a bit of a play with K2. That actually goes through a process. It'll come to me, I'll approve it, and then it'll be provisioned for you. So just give that a few minutes once you've submitted that off. All right, so we're going to have a look at the question panel now. So the first question I've got is, can you control the pagination and layout of the PDF? So not at the moment, as I understand. It just snapshots the web page as a PDF. I know the guys are looking into techniques where you can go and specify how you want to go and do paging from a PDF point of view. You can do that today, just not using the out-of-the-box PDF generator. So we've got quite a few partners that do PDF generation. One of the examples we've got is AdLib, and they can do amazing PDF generation where they can even take PDFs of, you can create a single PDF. So imagine at the end of your process, you need a PDF of everything that's taken place. You can use AdLib, which will then go and you can PDF all the Excel spreadsheets, all the attachments, whatever format they might need to be, and be able to create a single PDF with all the K2 process data into one PDF that you can then maybe store as a record. That's often used in the legal sector, where they need to go to court with one document with all the evidence and all the information inside of it, and they use that to go and generate that. And then you can also integrate that with CoSign and DocuSign to be able to do digital signatures in there as well. I've got a question which is, can you include the bet amount in the text? I'm not too sure what you mean by that. If you maybe could elaborate. And yes, AdLib is ADLIB if you want to look them up around advanced sort of PDF generation. It's a very good capability. You can also use SQL reporting services. So inside of with K2, K2's got great integration into a number of backend systems. I haven't spoken much about it in this webinar, but these are examples of the backend systems that I've got K2 connected to in my demonstration environment. And one of the systems that I've got it connected to is SQL reporting services. So what you can do from here is I can call in from a K2 workflow process to SQL reporting services, call in a report, and ask the report to be returned back to me as a PDF, and attach that into an email or send that out as part of a process. All right. Any other questions? And Paul, I'll reach out to you about the text question. you're asking if the bet amount in the text, if that can be text. I'm not too sure what you mean by that. I'll reach out to you afterwards and get some more detail about that. Rudy, anything else from on your side that?
No, I think, Igor, thank you very, very much. Everybody, thank you very much for your time and for attendance. I think Igor done a very good job. I think in a very short point in time, we see how we can create some forms, need to do some process, and actually have some time to execute, as well as your participation. Thanks for that as well on mobile. With that said, everybody, thank you very much, and keep an eye out for the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.